Notice the white people are sharp, ruling the deep dark realm. The enemy is self-study, film study books, study the wicked past of these crooks. They naked now, so let's openly look and see the shame. See all of the lies, see the pain. See my eyes openly desire flames in the street. When we come from Russia's gravity, if only we weren't such cowards, docile and devoured. Foolish that we gave away our power. Now we sour with one another, mother, sister, brother, dad, aunt, uncle, cousin, it's sad. We'd be so glad to see disaster, running to these pastors, pedophiles, actors, getting paid millions to tell you to let the crackers for crumbs. I love you all, but mostly you niggas dumb. When you run to the focus of these devils, I keep coffins and shovels, war on different levels. AKs for rebels who would rather fight and die than beg the answers why. You gotta be crazy to try and integrate. It never ceases to amaze me how white supremacy done made us all crazy. Love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it. It never ceases to amaze me how white supremacy done made us all crazy. We love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it. Serving y'all lesbian with sharp teeth and beats on the teeth that like to steal hearts and minds. This war is divine. Fear you won't find, cause fear is the only thing that can block a God's sign. Declining niggas like credit. The ones who let it rule their life. Grab a pistol, grab a knife, throw some balls, niggas fight while they down. For centuries we've been made a clown. Fill the city, fill the town, fill everything, look around. Time is now. No doubt, no rule, you wonder how. For centuries we spread our cheeks and let them plow. And now I watch how niggas smile long enough to see it. They know we're demons, puzzled at the meaning. Why they not bleeding? Executed for treason and competing with Satan. All the thoughts are blatant, house of dust is vacant. If I'm not mistaken, they take your kindness for weakness. It never ceases to amaze me how white supremacy done made us all crazy. Love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it. It never ceases to amaze me how white supremacy done made us all crazy. And we love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it. It never ceases to amaze me how white supremacy done made us all crazy. And we love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it. It never ceases to amaze me how white supremacy done made us all crazy. We love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it. It never ceases to amaze me how white supremacy done made us all crazy. And we love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it. It never ceases to amaze me how white supremacy done made us all crazy. And we love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to see it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it, love to be it.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
It has seemed to be inevitable in the last few days, judging by Charlie Sheen's frankly bizarre behavior over the last few weeks, appearing on American chat shows, on breakfast shows here, seemingly incoherent, rambling, and, as you suggest, criticizing the show's management, the show's creators. Indeed, in very outspoken terms, his language has been very colorful at times. He's been on the internet. He's launched his own kind of internet chat show, which was widely criticized as well. And his ramblings seem to have been more intense as the days have gone by. So really no surprise that this should happen, that in the last few hours, really, Warner Brothers Television issuing this statement that they have terminated Charlie Sheen's services on 2.5 Men immediately, and also released a legal letter in which they describe him as appearing to be very ill.
It's interesting to point out that that statement you just read out there, Peter, was actually made after the markets had closed. Interesting to see what the Warner Brothers share price does, because it is a massive television program there, isn't it?
It is a massive TV show, although last week they decided that they would stop production on the show because of the Charlie Sheen situation. So the people who work on it, and presumably the markets, were well aware that it was in limbo. Now it is very much a question mark over its future, whether they could possibly bring in another actor to replace Charlie Sheen, since he is such an integral part of the show, seems unlikely. And of course this is the bigger story, really. There's so many people, hundreds of other people in Hollywood who rely on this show for their livelihoods.
Just very briefly, Peter, just give us an idea of what prompted this so-called fall from grace that people are calling it regarding Charlie Sheen's career.
Well, he is known to have had trouble with drugs in the past. He was involved in an altercation with his estranged wife. He was sentenced to drug rehabilitation, to anger management, and he's made no secret of that. He claims now to be free of drugs, although his behavior is still extremely bizarre. That essentially is what's behind all of this.
It's not even about where you live. All white people are racist. It's impossible to have white skin and not to be a racist white supremacist. It just, that's one thing I don't agree with Mr. Fuller on. I think there are only two categories of people. You have your non-white people and you have white supremacists. If you're white, then you're a white supremacist. Even if white people could not be racist, since the criteria to be a racist white supremacist is to be white, there's no way to actually distinguish whether a white person is racist or not, since there's nothing they can say or nothing they can do, because deception is like a big tool used to confuse people. So I just scrap out the other one and I just say you have white supremacists and non-white people.
What are some of the best things non-white people can do to work against racism, white supremacy?
Beautiful question, Justice. Beautiful, just like you. One of the main things non-white people can do is stop watching television. Just being alive means that you're going to support the system in one way or another. But I think all black people should always buy the cheapest, most practical thing that they need. Stop wasting time hanging around with other black people unless you're doing something constructive. What else can I say? Be careful how you invest your money. Like, really be careful the food that you're eating. I think we should all stop drinking. We should all stop smoking. And I would love to see black people boycott this whole sports and entertainment. I know that's probably going to not happen, but we should leave it all alone. Stop buying their magazines. Stop supporting them, just in any way possible. And if you're going to buy something, just ask yourself, why am I buying this thing? What has this thing got to tell me about myself, and how is it going to help me find out more about racism and white supremacy? And, if you can't answer positively to any of those questions, then leave it alone. Because we're taught to buy a lot of stuff that we just don't need. A lot of stuff. You will have someone starving, but, they're happy because, they've got that Gucci bag or whatever. We need to stop supporting these homosexual designers as well. These white supremacists, what people don't understand is fashion is actually another way of saying condition. If you fashion something one way, you're conditioning it to be one way. If there was only one thing I could change about my childhood, was the fact that I was never informed about racism, which is now, with my son, as soon as he's able to start talking and understanding, he will be informed. I read him the Code pretty much every day. I read him a lot of other books that deal with racism, what white people have done to non-white people, black people especially, and he doesn't even understand. I mean, even sometimes when we're talking, I talk to him anyway, because I think he does understand me, I just don't understand him. So I tell him blatantly, oh gosh, these white supremacists, you see the reason this is here is because these white supremacists came and da-da-da-da, you know, and I do that with him already, and I'm getting myself used to it, because this is exactly how we need to be with our children. And it's just so sad that anyone who's black and over the age of, I don't know, 40, 50, even younger than that, has a hell of a lot to tell any person who's younger than them about racism. A lot. Not just one thing, not just two, a lot. But they choose not to do it. And it's destroying our minds, because we're literally being thrown into a lion's den, and we're being told, oh, yeah, it's all right, they're not going to hurt you. Yeah, play nice. Yeah, they're not even harmful. They don't even eat people. Yeah, they don't even like meat. That's literally what you're doing when you choose not to tell your children about racism. Like, how do you expect me to survive? You know, how can I survive? How can I make sense of anything around me? You know, a lot of children, a lot of black people, a lot of black children especially go through stages when they're asking their parents, you know, like, they don't understand, why don't we have a lot of money? Like, you know, why do other people have money but we don't? So many things that children are taught, especially like being really materialistic, and a lot of these things, you can drastically change the stress that your children give you because of TV and all the programs they're getting from these white supremacists, simply by explaining to them the system. Your children shouldn't be stressful to you. I mean, obviously, at a certain age, they are going to, you know, do their little tantrums and stuff like that. But when they become a bit older, from like age 4, 5, there shouldn't be a stress, because everything that it feels like, say, you can't give them, or things that can make them feel bad, you have to explain it to them and explain why the system of race and white supremacy has set it out so that they feel that way, they see things that way, you know, that all their people are poor, and, you know, we're being painted to be like these, you know, losers who will amount to nothing, and we're failures, and we're stupid, and so many things. And children need to know this. You know, if you love your child, you need to tell them about racism and white supremacy. You have to do it. You know, you should go kill yourself if you're not willing to go tell your child about racism and white supremacy, because they might as well not even have a parent. If you love your child, you need to tell them about racism and white supremacy. You have to do it. You know, you should go kill yourself if you're not willing to go tell your child about racism and white supremacy, because they might as well not even have a parent.
Wow.
So that's highly sensitive work.
Wow. I'm just listening to you, the words you're using to describe this and the refinement of all this. It just sounds bad. It makes it sound like black people are not capable of doing extremely refined, precise work. Well,
just think. I mean, if a person, you know, somebody just finishes school at, you know, even Columbia University, and then, you know, an African student, and he goes to Ghana, and he says he's going to help the people there, and they're going to print some new currency, and he's going to do it from scratch. Oh, yeah? How? See what I mean? I mean, that's very specialized work. First of all, he has to have the presses that will do it. And these are specialized presses made to order. You just don't go somewhere, I mean, you know, to Sears or J.C. Penney's and buy a press, or Staples office machines, and buy a press where you're going to print money. No. Every piece of that equipment is highly specialized. The steel has to be hard and whatnot. The plates that the money is going to be run off on, the plates that you put on those rollers, whatnot, that's got to be super precision, pristine. It's got to be manufactured under pristine conditions. Can't have any dust flying around, anything like that. Very sterile. Made with certain alloys. It's got to be mixed to perfection. And the engravers and whatnot that actually make the designs that go on to what you may call a pound a dinar, a dollar bill, or a franc. That's all precision work. So if you're going to make some money, I mean, that's going to be distributed to the people of Ghana, it's got to be precision work. Otherwise, anybody can just go in any kind of old hut and just get a copy machine and start funding off money.
Wow. I suspect that racist man.
I don't think the average person even thinks about that.
Then I know I definitely had not. I had not at all.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you go to a place and you get some strange money. I mean, you know, if you travel and whatnot, and they give you some currency and whatnot, where you think that currency, you know, hey, who makes this stuff? And who makes it? I mean, and I made it. And I go to my hotel room and run off some tonight. See what I mean? Because that's what people will certainly be doing. I mean, they're in Bermuda or someplace. I mean, you know, you know, the hotel bill is due. You know, so okay, well, put my coffee machine up on the desk. You know, how much is the hotel bill? And just run off some bills and take it down to the desk and pay them. Yeah. Well, everybody would be doing that. So, you know, when you're talking about so-called a nation's currency, you're talking about it calls for greatly skilled people. I mean, super over the top skilled. Otherwise, counterfeiting would just be, hey, you know, you just couldn't have money. Particularly paper money wouldn't be worth nothing. Nobody's paper money. If you could just duplicate it easy, you know. And I strongly suspect that some so-called money among black people, particularly, is probably being duplicated, which is why their economy is all messed up.
You suspect black people are counterfeiting it, or?
Well, white people are counterfeiting because they sell them the stuff in the first place.
Oh, okay.
Sell them the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So whoever sells you the presses and whatnot, since they are, you know, giving you the press, they can also make a press of their own, since they sold you one. And when you make whatever your money is supposed to be, they just duplicate what you got. They're going to walk right in and sit right down and be buying up everything. Probably on the day that you announced your new currency.
Wow.
Lots of things to think about in this, the way the world works, the real world. Lots of things to think about.
I just talked to a non-white person that I suspect is confused, and she said that she acknowledges white supremacy exists. She's heard you speak before, and she said she wanted to leave school to go and work against white supremacy and get off the system. And she said she didn't want to be on money. She didn't want to use that money. She said she wanted to get outside the system. And
work.
That's what I said. I said that is not possible. That's not possible at all.
No place to go. I mean, she has to fill in the details. Go where?
Chicago. She said she was going to go to Chicago. And
no, I wouldn't care where she went. She'd be under white supremacy. If she goes to an island, she's the only person on there. She's still under it.
We do not understand that at all. I mean, we do not.
She'd be calling for a helicopter in about 3 days. If her cell phone would work.
We do not understand that at all. Like, I hear, and these will be people that have heard you speak many times, have listened to the program, and I've said global system, you know, whole universe, white people have conquered. And they'll say, well, if we just go back to Africa, or I'm just not going to spend any of your money, and it's like that. I mean,
ask the African, go somewhere and get in a cab and talk to him. He just got here from where she's going. Get get in a taxi and talk to the guy from Somalia. He'll say, I just got here from Somalia. It took me a lifetime to get here to drive a cab. So you going where I came from? I don't think so. Took everything I could to get out of there. That's what he's going to tell you. I spent a lifetime trying to get away from there. You know, black people talk about going to Africa. Africa's trying to come here. They're trying to make it to London or France. Go to Morocco. They're trying to get across that Strait of Gibraltar and get into Spain, Portugal. Drowning trying to get there, just like the Haitians are drowning trying to get to Florida. One key thing is black people have to stop telling themselves things that are not so.
Amen. Amen.
That's real crucial.
Amen.
When you lie to yourself, you know, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's one of the worst things anybody can do. Start believing your own lies. Might be forced to lie to somebody else at gunpoint. You start lying to yourself. That's what the code calls total lack of self-respect, or respect, period. Because that's what respect is. Refusing to lie to yourself. Headed for oblivion when you do that. No hope. You don't ever want to do that. And it doesn't, you know, the truth ain't going to hurt you. Even when it seems like it will. It will not. It's the first step toward straightening out into this mess. Whatever the truth is, go right for it. Every time. It'll take you right where you need to go. Even when you think it'll hurt. You know, it's going to hurt the white supremacists, because that's what they like. They like to see black people tell themselves lies. They got away with that since the 1960s, when they started hyping that, telling black people there was some place that they could go. Go and sit at the, build cities around the Great Pyramid and all this type of stuff. The people who are over there, right there where the pyramids are trying to get away from there. Crowd on every plane that'll land. Got to be real about that.
Context of White Supremacy. The only reason I'm doing a program is because it is so-called St. Patrick's Day. At least on the West Coast, it is not quite midnight, so it's still March 17th, and white people, they work pretty hard. They do not take vacations, and I try to have that same spirit of being on the job all the time, as often as possible, because white people don't stop. I try to have the same work ethic. And a non-white person, he was out and about on the plantation of racism, white supremacy, earlier today, and he said a white person pinched him because he wasn't wearing green. And he said, he tried to, compensate and correct the situation to the best of his ability. But I just thought that was, a pitiful reminder that under racism, white supremacy, there are penalties for failure to celebrate racist man and racist woman's so-called holidays. Sometimes they're subtle, sometimes not so subtle, but I think a lot of folks could attest. Act like you don't want to go along with Christmas and see what happens. It can get rough for you. At any rate, that's why I'm doing the program in the first place. That and Whoopi Goldberg. But I had some interesting turns at the beginning of the program. Number one, a white person called in and felt the need to share a racist joke. I recorded the conversation, but I was tardy. I didn't begin recording because I was speaking to him in the queue. So the program was on, but I was speaking to him so you all couldn't hear it. And the racist joke, I guess it was a recording that he played from a website, and the racist joke was, what do you call a group of black people running in the same direction? Jailbreak. And I said, my response was, I've heard that one. I got to give the white response, like I've heard that one already. And so he sat there for a while, and he said, oh, you're the first guy that I've been able to call and, say this on the radio, and they didn't hang up on me or block me. And I said, is there anything else that you want to do? I mean, that's why you called this program, to share a racist joke. And he said something about Jews. Oh, he said Jews. I think he said something about Jews are responsible for 9/11. He said something like that. And he gave a website. I recorded this part. Once I get it uploaded, I'll play back that part because I was able to record that. But he called and gave a racist joke that I'd already heard. I mean, it was incredible. That right there let me know that it was a good decision to be on the air. And I want you all to think about that. Apparently, a random white person called the program to share a racist joke, and said that he had called other programs to share this racist joke. And he said he was just bored. I think I got that part recorded. He said he was bored. That's why he was calling, because he was bored. This is what white people do when they're bored in the system of racism, white supremacy. Practice racism. And I want everyone to keep in mind that could have been a non-white person. He could have been lying, for what it's worth. But the person said, I asked, and he said he was a white person. He played the racist joke and, said he was bored. So for what it's worth. At any rate, another gentleman also dialed in at the very beginning of the program. Very beginning of the program, dialed in. This is also a white person, and he said he's on the line. He can speak for himself. The person who dialed in 4789, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm. Number one, you are a white person?
Yes, I am a white person. At first I was a little skeptical about the show, and I saw the title, and then, just listening to you, I think you're a good guy. I like what you're doing, and I like your show.
Okay. What do you like about this show?
I think I'd have to say I like you and your attitude more than anything. I mean, just how you were able to deal with that first that guy who told the racist joke, and you were able just to laugh at it. You don't let this stuff bother you, and you really, I think they, I don't know, I like it.
So you like a show where the host thinks that someone like you is a racist white supremacist?
I don't believe you think I'm a racist white supremacist. I don't think I'm a racist white supremacist.
Are you said you are a white person, correct?
I did say I'm a white person, but okay. I only believe in one race, and that's the human race.
Okay. At any rate, are you interested in investing or helping in any way what we're doing here?
I haven't put much serious time into it, but I mean, just growing up, it was very hard for me because I grew up in southern Texas in a town called Lubbock, and when I was about 10 years old, I had my bike stolen by a
I feel like we're going to hear a story here.
Well, I know. I'm just kind of getting into it. This isn't going to take long. So I had my bike stolen by a kid who happened to be black. And anyway, that's
are you willing to help out? Are you willing to help out with what we're doing here, investing, getting books? Are you willing to do that? Because
I really am. I really am. I want to invest. I want to invest KFC, watermelon, grape Kool-Aid, whatever you need.
Okay. I pretty much, I was going to say that sounds like something a racist would say, and I've seen that before. So we got 2 racist jokes at the beginning of the program. And I just said you are so on. Do you have any more? Anything else you'd like to say?
I'm trying to think of more common stereotypes, but, you know, other than the fact that the property rates have all gone down.
I'm sorry?
The property rates have all gone down. And
property rates
I also,
have gone down.
I agree with that other caller on his views on the World Trade Center.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. All righty. Good to hear from you.
I also want to, real quick, I want to say Lime Team.
Yeah. Got it. That was the same website. It was a tandem. 2 white people called. I'm so glad because I missed the other racist joke. So we did get it. That is wonderful, and that's why I'm on my job. That is so on time. That's why I'm on my job every day. This is white people. These are the folks that you're around every day, hanging out with, on the job, on the bus. And no, not Ted. No, not Bianca. No, we hang out every day. We go to the gym. I've been to her house. Yes, them too. White people are the problem. White people are a natural disaster on the planet. I mean, this is a total, and people like that sit around, that's the way they think about black people, and sit around in their free time and pass racist jokes about black people. Black people and non-white people die every day because of people like that. Behavior like that is what leads to Katrina. When black people need help and they don't get it, people that sit around and tell these racist jokes, that contributes to things like Katrina. That behavior right there, racism, white supremacy, live demonstration on so-called St. Patrick's. I said white people go hard on their holidays, big time. At any rate, the whole program, number one, I said holidays, big reason why I'm doing the program. I really think it's important to counter the effort of racist man and racist woman and not take breaks, be active and hopefully constructive, but definitely making an attempt to be constructive and to counter the programming that goes out on their so-called holidays. The other big motivator, Whoopi Goldberg. I will take a moment to thank the caller who mentioned Jumpin' Jack Flash on the program, I believe, last Friday, where we were talking about Eddie Murphy films and 80s movies. I had seen Jumpin' Jack Flash and a lot of Whoopi Goldberg's films. I don't think anyone has mentioned a film yet by Whoopi Goldberg that I haven't already seen. But just, I mean, wow, she has just a huge body of work that is still growing. And you can get a PhD studying Whoopi Goldberg's film career. I'll give out, if you want like counter-racism cliff notes, right? If you're somebody, and I mean, I'm being very serious here, very serious. If you feel like you need a crash course in racism, white supremacy, I'll even sit up. I'm lounging because I'm finally using my snazzy headset that the non-white listener in the UK mailed to me. My microphone on my computer had been working so well that I hadn't used my headset, and for this program I'm going to watch some of Ghost, and I'll have my headset on so I can watch it and commentate on the film. It might not be of any interest at all, but I certainly think it will be constructive based on what I've seen of Ghost thus far. At any rate, definitely thank you to the caller with the headset. But before I get to all that, I want to give out those cliff notes. I will sit up so that I can project properly. I hope I'm being heard clearly because I am on a different mic set. I hope I'm coming across clear. Alrighty. If you need cliff notes, right, on racism, white supremacy, you want to fast forward things. Talking to white people, that definitely is at the top of the list. I mean, you really want to see where you are dealing with racism, white supremacy, being able to talk to white people successfully, not just yelling, calling them crackers, but I mean, you get constructive information, positive, constructive things happen for you when you use words to speak with a white person. That is fantastic when you are able to do that. You don't get frustrated, you're not yelling, no harm comes to you, or you're able to stop harm coming to a non-white person by the way that you use your words. That's A+ work. You are doing tip-top counter-racist work if you can do that. And that even counts for you. I mean, that counts especially for you. So if the non-white being harmed is yourself and you're able to use words to stop that mistreatment, excellent job. Another way, if you want to fast forward your skills, and when you talk to white people and it doesn't go that way, just take notes. It happens to the best of us, myself included. It still happens to me. Just take notes of things. If you didn't say the correct thing, if you didn't ask enough questions, if you just allowed the white person to ask all the questions, if you name called, just any errors that you made, try to make a note of those and what you should do. This is what I did that was not correct. This is what I should do that will be correct. It will get the result that I want every time. Just make a note of that, if you talk to a white person and it doesn't work out well. That's something that I do. And non-white people, same thing. Other way you can fast forward, Neely Fuller. I was just telling Pam yesterday, I know for a lot of people, they don't enjoy reading. They don't have Mr. Fuller's code book. Or just not their thing. And I even know some people, they've read the code book and they still, have questions about it. They're not confident about the material that's presented in the code book. The way that I learned counter-racist code, and I'm just telling you the truth, I did not get Mr. Fuller's code book until this program had been thrown off the air. That was when I was finally, and I had the free time to actually sit down and read Mr. Fuller's code book. We had done, I think we were getting close to our 20th program, Back of the Bus and myself, when we were thrown off the air. So, and I felt confident enough back then to be on the radio talking about racism, white supremacy, just after taking about 6 months and listening to counter-racism. And I listened pretty much every day. I'm not going to say every day. Definitely not every day. But I will say probably 85% of the days for 6 months, I listened to counter-racism.com. I listened. I tried to catch every Neely Fuller lecture, talk that he gave. I don't think I caught any live ones. I'm thinking back. Yeah, I did not catch any live programs, but I just listened to the archives. And in fact, that experience is a huge part of why I don't have a chat room. And I'll give you the explanation. The reason is because, I'll say that again, I never caught a live counter-racist program. All the programs I was listening to were archived. So there was no opportunity for me to call in. There was no opportunity for me to ask questions in a chat room. There was no opportunity for me to oppose, challenge, anything. It was just listening. And I had to just think. That was all I could do, was listen and think about what was said. And for me, it helped because it made me think. It made me just think about the ideas and really get an overstanding. Like not just hearing what the person is saying, but listening and listening to all of those different programs and really getting an understanding of what Mr. Fuller was saying. Like getting over the awe of, oh, it's Mr. Fuller, I'm finally getting here. Like getting over all that and just, okay, it's just a dude talking. Like, okay, just a black guy talking, let's hear what he says. And just listening and seeing, what does this mean? global, what does this mean? Racist, like really thinking about that. And I mean, I didn't have the opportunity to just immediately, when I was uncomfortable or something rubbed against my programming that made me upset or made me embarrassed, I didn't have that opportunity to call in or get on the chat line and, you know, curse somebody out. That just wasn't there. And I think it was really good for me because it made me think. Like, I remember I would just meditate on these ideas. Like, I would stroll or sit quietly. It made me just sit by myself and think. What does this mean? What would I say? And I thought about, you know, different conversations, different questions. What would I want to ask? What would I say? It just required me to do a lot of thinking, and I think that's important. And good listening. I think it generated two things: good listening skills and the ability to just think about something and to not feel that you got to come in and, you know, talk and oppose something just because it makes you uncomfortable. So that's why I don't have a chat room. I think it's important. I think it just adds confusion, and I think it's good to be in an environment where you're just listening, where you're not talking, you're just listening to the information, you think about it, you see if it makes sense, if you can use anything that's being presented. If you can, great. If not, you know, oh well, I know not to listen to that program anymore, or I'll know not to listen to that guest next time, you know, real easy. At any rate, so I listened to Counter Racism for like 6 months, and it was very helpful for me. It helped me get familiar with the terms, concepts. It got me comfortable saying the word white supremacy. It was just helpful in a lot of ways. And in fact, listening to Mr. Fuller's lectures, listening to those lectures daily for about 6 months, by the time I actually read the code book, for me, I felt like I'd already read the book. Like, I felt like I got maybe 20% of it was new, but the rest of it was just, it was material that I was already very comfortable with. So I think it would help. Like, I think even if, I'm not saying don't read the code book, I'm just saying if you need help, if you're in a situation where you don't have access to it, or you just, you know, you're a victim and you want what you can get right now, I think if you went to Blog Talk Radio and you did a search, a site search, so just at Blog Talk Radio in the little search bar on the Blog Talk page, type in Neely Fuller, do a search, right? In fact, I'll do it with you. So I'll know exactly what should happen. So you go, there's a white bar, it's at the top of the page, type in Neely Fuller, and let's see. Okay. When you go to the next page, there will be 3 columns. Click on the middle column, on demand. Just click on it. When you click on the on demand button, or you can scroll to the bottom of the page where it says see them all for the middle column. Click that, and then you should get 41. Well, I suspect it's not 41, but it should be in the neighborhood of about 30 to 35 programs that Neely Fuller Jr. has done here at Blog Talk Radio. And I suspect if you downloaded or listened to all of those programs, you would probably have a very thorough understanding of racism, white supremacy. I'm scrolling through now. Some of these, it looks like it might just be, mentioning Mr. Fuller, it looks like, for some of these. But it looks like a lot of these, it's Mr. Fuller. A lot of these, it was Mr. Fuller was a guest on someone's program and, was on talking for, a couple hours, sometimes 3 hours, about white supremacy. I suspect you could get at least 30 programs from here of Mr. Fuller. Download that material. It's free. You should be good. You should be good for about 6 months and just listen. Put it in your MP3. You can listen in your car. You can listen while you work out. If you take public transportation, you're on the subway, you're on the train, whatever, bus, just all the scenarios that you can think of. You're in your car where you have music playing. You're on your computer doing work and you have music playing. You could be listening to, audio of Mr. Fuller. That's what I did. I'm just telling you my experience. That's what I did. And it was very helpful. It was very helpful. And especially if you don't have the code book, I think you could probably listen to, a combination of his talks and get a pretty solid understanding of it, particularly if you listen to them more than once. And again, not saying that is a replacement for the book. You should definitely get it, read it, and the Word Guide, the new Word Guide, excellent material. But, and as a supplement, if you have that, I think it still would be great, and you'd probably learn a lot listening to the lectures, because you really get to hear him explain things and give examples, and not all the material that he talks about is in the code book, so it's just always good to hear him, I think. Another way to fast forward your understanding of racism, white supremacy, racist jokes. The gentleman, he just gave the stereotypes, fried chicken, watermelon, just analyzing, the way that white people speak about racism. You can learn a lot. I've frequently said racist jokes. The joke that the caller shared about a group of black people running in one direction, a jailbreak. Again, criminalizing black people as hoodlums, looters, same old stuff. Daryl Bain, and in Whoopi Goldberg's films, many of them. Same old thing, same old stale stereotypes. What does that mean? Why are they doing that? What are they trying to say? What does this serve? Because, it's got to be successful for white people to keep doing it. What else would I say? Whoopi Goldberg's films. Whoopi Goldberg's film, her film career, wow. It's going to be a show. This is not that show. To just, kind of discuss the victim of white supremacy, Whoopi Goldberg, and to kind of look at some of her films and how racist woman and racist man have victimized her on screen. That program is coming. But, man, you're talking about somebody who's been making movies for more than 25 years, and that body of work. She is still in film. She is in some of the films that, some of the few people that are informed about racism, white supremacy, less confused, complain about, regularly, cite as hallmark illustrations of white supremacy in film. She was in The Color Purple. She was in For Color Girls, Sister Act. She has an extraordinary body of work. I believe she did one of the voices for Lion King. She was in Eddie. She had a whole stand-up career. She's on The View now, where she was just on there defending Mel Gibson and the white gentleman who sexually assaulted the young girl, teenage girl. Her film library it's Jumpin' Jack Flash, that was mentioned on the pro, which is an incredible film. Ghost, the film that I'm gonna watch and comment on this evening. Karina. I think Sister Act, I don't know if I said that one before. Serafina, she has an extraordinary body of work. The film on the assassination of Medgar Evers, A Long Walk Home, we talked about that. It is really an incredible body of work. And the content, it's almost like every time that she's on the film, it's going to be something stellar about white supremacy. Jumpin' Jack Flash is an extraordinary example of white identification. Let's see, I'm giving you some of the films that I've seen recently. I talked about Long Walk Home, which is also an extraordinary example of white identification. You got How Christmas is in the middle of the film. When I started going to download films to watch, I think the first few films that I wanted to see, Sister Act, Jumpin' Jack Flash, Ghost. I hadn't seen. I think Ghost was the only film that I had not seen before, and I was about to start watching Jumpin' Jack Flash, and I was like, oh my gosh, he did. I mean, just think about that. System of White Supremacy. White people make a movie starring a black person, a dark complexion black person with dreadlocks, called Burglar, where the black person is the. I mean, just think about that. It's and then I watched it today. It is incredible. I think I could do a whole 2 hours just on Burglar. I mean, it is incredible. And I mean, just that right there tells you all you need to know. Black, dark complexion black person with dreadlocks starring in a film, Burglar. That's all you need to know. It's incredible. But yeah, just her body of work. Every time you should have a notepad. Every time you see Whoopi Goldberg on television, you should have a pen and pad in hand because, man, there will be extraordinary lessons about racism, white supremacy. I was watching some of her stand-up material from some years ago, and it was amazing. It was amazing. She did a stand-up routine where she called a black child buckwheat, and I was waiting because I didn't know if she was. I was confused. I didn't know what was going on, and that was just the routine. Her referencing this black child that she was talking about as buckwheat. At any rate, it will be a program. It's coming soon. Whoopi Goldberg, an analysis of how she has been victimized on the screen, and it's not to pick at her and throw rocks at her. It's just to look at how white people victimize us. I suspect Whoopi Goldberg is confused about racism, white supremacy. I know I watched Burglar at least twice, and I never thought anything of it. I never thought anything of a lot of her. I don't think I thought anything of it. So when you're confused, things like that can happen. So it's not to throw rocks at her. It's just to see, what racist man and racist woman are up to, and it is a lot. I'm going to go ahead and crank up Ghost. The way this is working, since I have my headset on, I want to actually see if I can do this in 2 minutes. I'm so thankful that I did not listen to Love, Truth, Liberation about the MacBook Pro and just getting the cheapest model. It has served me well, investing more money to get the more expensive computer machine that could do more. It has really benefited. I'm very glad. It was a great investment. And, I would say overshoot. And the reason I was thinking about that is that as a black person, double whammy. As a black male, I have consistently been in situations where I am in need, where I don't have resources, constructive resources and material that I need. That is terrible. As a non-white person, I would much rather be in a position of having something in case I need it, as opposed to needing it and not having it. I would much rather it be the former, because I've had way too much of the latter. So I'm even some of the software programs that I didn't use at first, I am slowly using more now. And I try to use everything, every skill that I get, I try to use it against the system of white supremacy. So I would definitely say overshoot, do not settle, set the goals and standards way high, way high, because, for white people, they, they go hard. Everything that they do is going to be intense and extreme. So definitely for non-white people, do not be, the best word I can think of, do not be niggerish with your expectations. Do not be niggerish. Think big. Think real big. With that, the way my sound is working, I am mic'd right now through my headset. My sound for the film should be coming out of my computer speakers. So I will be able to hear the film, and I think you all will probably pick up some of the sound from the film as well, which is fine, I hope. And you should be able to hear me clear. So if I feel like I want to interject and comment, you should hear me as well. We'll see how it goes. I'll do a few minutes and just kind of share some thoughts of what I've seen, what's happening in the film. And, yeah, people can call in. If people have seen the film, they can call in and share their thoughts. Just to set it up, I guess, for folks, if you haven't seen Ghost, this film came out in 1990. Whoopi Goldberg, and Whoopi Goldberg was, I can't say she was a huge, I mean, she was a pretty big star. She had already done a number of films. She had done Color Purple and Jumpin' Jack Flash, Burglar. She had done quite a few films by the time Ghost came out. Whoopi Goldberg won an Academy Award for Ghost. She won Best Supporting Actress for her role as Oda Mae Brown. Oda Mae Brown. One thing I pay attention to, I would need more time, but anagrams, I am certain some of these names, you could probably move the letters around and come up with all kinds of craziness. But at any rate, she did win an Academy Award. Demi Moore, Patrick Swayze are in this film. I think they were both at the height of their career around the time that this film came out. I saw a video clip of Whoopi Goldberg on The View, in the past 5 years, talking about Patrick Swayze and how much he meant to her, and she just loved him to death, and he was responsible for her getting her Academy Award, and she blew him a kiss on the air, and I go, well, white identification. At any rate, the film Ghost, Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore, they are in a sexual relationship. Patrick Swayze is killed by a non-white male. His ghost his ghost is hovering around and sad, and his ghost sees that this non-white male is attempting to come back and go into his former partner's apartment. The non-white male, he mugs them and kills Patrick Swayze's character and takes the keys so he can get in the apartment. She didn't change the locks. So he comes back, the non-white male, he comes, he gets in, and he's leering at her. She's taking her clothes. I mean, it is incredible. As I was watching this film, I was watching it today. I'd never seen it before. I was watching, and I said, it would be real crazy if a black male killed him. Like, that would be, and just as I was saying, it was a non-white person that killed him, that mugged him and killed him. And then the non-white male comes back. He's further menacing them, and the threat of him raping the white one. I mean, it's Daryl Bain. It's just like it. That's what I mean. Like, what is up with that? Why is it this constant threat of the raping black male? I mean, other than Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and her theory of white genetic annihilation, if it's not that, I don't really have an explanation as to why Daryl Bain and the rest of these white people continue to crank out these stories and lies and images and mythology around, raping black males. At any rate, that's the story. Whoopi Goldberg's character, she is some sort of, she's just some sort of charlatan, basically. She claims to be like a fortune teller or some spiritual healer. She can get in touch with dead people. And it's a total farce. I mean, that's why I'm having such a hard time trying to explain her character, because they make it very clear that she is just taking people's money, swindling folks, just tricking them, playing on their fears and superstitions and stupidity. They make it very clear. And the funny thing about this is that she can hear Patrick Swayze's ghost. So after he dies, no one can hear him except other people who are also dead, except this black female, which is interesting right there. Interesting right there. They got the black person relating to the dead person in the film. That's very interesting right there. Anyway, so Whoopi Goldberg's character, Oda Mae Brown, she is supposed to go and tell Demi Moore's character, you're in trouble. This, raping nigger is going to come back and get you, change the locks, call the police, get this guy, you're in trouble, he's going to try and come and rape you. And so she tries to go and tell Demi Moore, your dead sex partner is talking to me, protect yourself. And at first Demi Moore doesn't believe her. She finally does, and he goes from there. Very sexual movie, like really about white people procreating. They have a lot of sexual scenes. They draw you in, so you identify with these white people from the very beginning, and they're together. They don't have clothes on a lot, and they're doing sexual stuff. They have a scene infamous scene, I think, where they are molding clay, which Dr. Welsing moment. They are racism is an aphrodisiac. She has this blob of clay that is in the shape of a phallic. It's total phallic representation. Brown clay, and she's molding it and moving it between her fingers in a very sultry, seductive manner. And Patrick Swayze comes and he sits behind her, and he doesn't have a shirt on. He's rubbing her down and gets. It's a layup if you see the film. At any rate, I'm about halfway through the film. Whoopi Goldberg is talking to Demi Moore, telling her about, her dead partner. That's about where we are. And I will point out the racism as we go, and other racist things that I've seen in this film. I'll point out as we go, but I will start the film. Anyone, if you are on the line and you have seen this film, would love to hear your feedback. Press 1. I can get you on. And with that, I'll press play. Okay. Oh, the hair. Whoopi Goldberg has had this film. She has a long wig, straightened hair. The trend that I've noted in all these films, Whoopi Goldberg she is being totally dominated by white people. Every film that I've seen, and I think this week I've seen Ghost, Burglar, Jumpin' Jack Flash, and Color Purple. So in the last week I've seen those 4 films. I can't say that as so much directly for Color Purple, but definitely for the other 3, she is being totally bossed around by white people. That's the whole film. White people telling her, go over here and do this, go over here and do this, go over here and do this. And most of the time, it's white people putting her in extraordinary danger. Like, it's not, just go dump the trash, or, go over there and make me some pancakes. It's like, go over here and rob this person who's a killer and bring me back the items, and I won't tell you how much they're worth. It's things like that, like asking, put your life on the line for me, black person. That is what I'm seeing in her films over and over and over. Go put your life on the line for a white person. And it's real blatant and ugly in Jumpin' Jack Flash, because she consistently, her line is, I got something better to do. You don't think I have anything better to do than sit around and mess around? She says that over and over, and then make it so clear that she has no life. She has no man. That's another big pattern in all of and that you can add Color Purple to that too. She has no man. Mr. does not count, in my opinion. She has no man. She is the total black female eunuch, total removal of femininity. You talk about her being masculinized. Both, I think, Jumpin' Jack Flash and Burglar, I think she is big time masculinized in those films, but that's another story. But definitely no man. Can't have a husband, can't be a mom, at all. That's not a part of this equation at all. And I kept thinking of Whoopi Goldberg. They're knotted. It's I don't think you can talk about Whoopi Goldberg and not talk about Oprah Winfrey, but very similar, very similar. I was thinking about that. I think they both their role is to cater to the all-powerful white woman, because I mean, this film is all about the white woman. I think this film was so popular because of white women, and I think Oprah definitely has that on lock. I think that is one of the main ways. Those are the key racists that are manipulating and abusing, in my opinion, Oprah Winfrey, Whoopi Goldberg. It is racist woman that they are catering to, I think, in their films. And particularly with Oprah Winfrey's television program. Victims, not throwing rocks, just, I think that is, when you talk about Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey's victimization, fingerprints of racist woman. Black person doesn't have much credibility. That's coming through here, Whoopi Goldberg's character. And I mean, they've already, made her out to be like she's just totally fleecing people with her job. Fleecing black people. That was also a key scene in this movie. I said she's a fortune teller of some sort. She only has non-white customers. There's one female in her fortune teller shop that is non-black. At least to me, she looks like she is not a black female. And I thought she was white, but then when she gets in, she's speaking Spanish. So I said, "Oh, okay." I felt like they tainted her character. They made her non-white. So this is, in my opinion, a non-black, non-white person. So all of Whoopi Goldberg's customers, when she's a fortune teller, they are all non-white, mostly black, but all non-white. And the lightest non-black person is the first person that she waits on. That is the first person that she services. I thought that was real.
Double whammy.
Real interesting. Let's see. I'll turn the volume up as I'm watching the film here. Oh, they're going to the non-white male's place. Oh, they're going to his residence. Wow. So fascinating. Okay, now they're revealing Willie. Black female referenced as a bitch. Wow. Very interesting scene. My goodness. I'm going to check to see if y'all can hear this because I don't want it to just be dead space. I turned the volume up when I stopped talking so y'all could hopefully hear what I'm hearing. I'll double check with the people on the line to see if they can hear. Wow. Incredible scene. Incredible scene. This is what I mean. You can get a fast-forward crash course in racism, white supremacy, watching Whoopi Goldberg's films. Now, actually, let me rewind. I am picking all this up having studied racism, white supremacy, so if I had watched all this from the beginning, I maybe wouldn't have been picking it out. Maybe it's not accurate to say you can just watch the films and not have an understanding. I'm picking all this out because I understand white supremacy. So yeah, you probably won't be able to watch Whoopi Goldberg films and understand what you're looking at. You'll probably not catch a lot of things. So yeah, you'll have to supplement. I think maybe if you listen to the Neely Fuller audio and supplement that with watching these films and picking and watching them, thinking now, Gus said these films are saturated with white supremacy. I should have a pen and pad in my hand, and I should be taking extensive notes. I think that'll work. It'll have to be the films in conjunction with some counter-racism and listening to some code talks. But the film, I'll break that down, and then I'll get the folks that have a hand up. Wow. So the non-white male, I'm not sure if he's a black male, but the non-white male that kills Patrick Swayze's character, who is a white man, kills his character in the film. He was told to do this by a white person. So a white person gave him orders to go and do this. Apparently, they're into drugs and laundering money, stealing, and they wanted to get rid of Patrick Swayze's character to make all of their criminal activity go. And so they get some, non-white person who looks like he lives in the worst apartment, imaginable, who has a terrible life. He looks like he's making, poverty, below the poverty wage. And this white person, who's saying, hey, I'm about to get $80,000. I'm racking up. Life is great. Just go kill this black bitch. That's let's go kill Whoopi Goldberg and, everything will be good. I'll get my money. We can move forward. You can, be in your little crappy place here. And hopefully I won't go tell the police. Man, but the thing that is important in that, and Whoopi Goldberg's character is a convict in this. Wow, she has a police record. Wow, really interesting thing. And they have a picture of her with a blonde wig on. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Woo! Yeah, watch her films with a pen and pad and pay attention to everything. Pay attention to her hair. She has blue contacts in for Burglar. It has nothing to do with the movie at all, and she has blue contacts in. It is like giving your child cyanide if you put them in front of that television and not talk to them about racism, white supremacy. I watched this film and I remember her eyes sticking out. It's not even related to the plot of the film. She's got blue contacts in for the film Burglar. The person who called in 5785, maybe we'll have another white person with more racist jokes. 5785?
Yes, greetings.
Oh, it's not one person.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how you doing? Yeah, that's interesting because I didn't even press the one, but I did hear it when it put me in the host queue. That's fine at the same time. Wow. What can I say? There were a couple of things I thought of during the course of your broadcast, if I just pick up from where you are now in terms of Ghost. What came up for me as I was listening and, kind of replaying the scenes of the movie Ghost as you were describing them, watching them, it just reminded me because recently I have begun to watch TV a little more since I've been released from my plantation station. And so the time is there and sort of making that adjustment. And one a movie or show that I came across was called The Ghost Whisperer, which I kind of hearing like Ghost, the movie Ghost, how likely the connection was that was sort of like the impetus or the Ghost Whisperer, which was a running series apparently for 6 or 7 seasons or something. And I kind of just begin to think about those connections and between the movie Ghost and then the Ghost Whisperer and some other dynamics with the Ghost Whisperer that I have focused on and working to talk about and put together. So I thought about that with that piece. And second, when you talked about the first caller you had, one thought that I did have right away, he said that he was, quote, unquote, bored, and so this is why he called in, and this is what they do. One thing I thought immediately, working in the, mental, emotional, behavioral health arena, if you will, I heard a white therapist, if you will, reveal that the term bored, and it was discussed when this white person said it, in the context of consumers who were non-white or of African descent who talked about being bored. That bored was actually a code word for depressed. And knowing what I know about what actually depression is or how it shows up and what it's about, which is simply a pushing down, suppressing of anger as a feeling, it stands to reason that the white caller was accurate when he says he was bored, because what he's really saying is he's depressed. And what that is really saying is, I am extremely angry and, and have no place for it to go. And it needs to come out, but it sort of slips out in these little sideway deals the way it did with his, picking up the phone call and making the racist jokes. So just recognizing those connections in terms of what people expressing as it relates to feelings and how they show up, and the both and reality. So yeah, he's bored, and yes, they're angry, and of course, unjustly, if you will. So it's just still part of their sick illness that they would still even be angry as white Americans that these black folks are sort of taking over and all this other kind of all the rest of the stuff that goes with their sick way of thinking, that they would actually in some way feel justified in feeling angry about that. It is part of the illness. So those were a couple of things I thought of during the course of the broadcast. Thanks for taking my call. And those are things I wanted to say, yet had not pressed the one as of yet, listening to the commentary about the movie Ghost and, thinking and making connections and so forth for myself. It was interesting that somehow I was sort of put in the host.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened, but I thought it was constructive to hear your insight about being bored, and the gentleman, if he is angry, that's interesting that the route that he took to express his anger was white supremacy. I'll resolve all this by telling some racist jokes, and then I'll feel wow, that is to be expected. I'm glad it happened. Like I said, I'm glad it happened, and we got a double dose. I'm glad you all got to hear the other gentleman that called in and made his comments about the watermelon and chicken. So
it was very interesting with him how he kind of worked to hold it together for a bit, and then he just couldn't contain himself anymore, and it just had to come out. That was kind of funny, the little process that he went through.
It was like he was like, I'm gonna play him along and then get him. I'm gonna play him along. I'm gonna.
And then when it became apparent that he was not able to sort of get you, then he just kind of came out with it.
Yeah, it's white people.
Are you familiar with the Ghost Whisperer? I'm sorry, excuse me. The show, The Ghost Whisperer.
I have not seen it. I've heard the title before, but yeah, I've been saying that. I've been saying that for a couple months. I said if my quality of life improved, I would watch a lot of television because when I wasn't watching, people would just send me little things, and I would be stunned. Like, this is on television. Like, wow. They are just being really blatant with things. And,
Right.
I mean, and I think it's also, you can sharpen your skills. While I was telling people, I think you can study racism, white supremacy if you know what to look for. You can watch television and make it, this is my study time. I am picking out racist code. When I turn on that television, you have your pad and pen, you're taking notes, you're making observations. Because that's what that's what I do. That's really what I try to do with these films, and I think you can do that with books, films, anything. You can do that in real life too. You have conversations and just making observations. But I will make a note and see if anyone else has seen the film. The line is filling with other folks that dialed in. I'll get your lines as well. So maybe these folks have seen Ghosts. The person that called in from a blocked number and the person that called in from 3193 have both of your lines open. Oh, and I'll get Mr. Nero as well. So you 4 are on the line.
Greetings, Gus. I didn't know you were having a show this late.
Wasn't planned.
But I happened to just look up and I saw the email that you were having a show, and I said you had Ghost on. I saw that movie years ago, around the same time around the Academy Awards. And I was never a fan of Whoopi Goldberg. I never did like her in movies. And a movie of hers that you need to watch that she produced is called Angela's Bucket of Blood. I don't know if any of the callers out there ever saw it. I happened to be flipping the channel last weekend. It was on TV One, and it starred Angela Bassett. It's set in Louisiana back in the 50s, of this black woman that owned a nightclub, and she was married to this black male, light-skinned black male, who was a womanizer, and she owned this juke joint somewhere along the lines of Color Purple, and she became involved in a sexual relationship with this white man who was a singer that hangs out in this black jazz group that was playing at these black clubs. So it was very interesting. Angela Bassett played in it, and Whoopi Goldberg was the producer of this movie.
Interesting. I will check it out. It sounds interesting. It sounds like it's in line with, much of what I've seen, of her work. It sounds very much in line, unfortunately. Am I clear? Since this is the first time I'm using this mic, am I clear?
Yeah. You're coming in pretty good.
Okay. Are you all able? I kind of turned it down, but it is still on. Can you hear the film playing in the background?
A little bit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've seen it years ago, though.
I've
seen it probably 1,000 times.
Wow, that is cool. What did you like about this film so much?
I didn't. I lived with my sister. She liked it.
Oh. What did your sister like about this film so much?
Patrick Swayze.
He was like the sexiest man ever for like the early 90s. Like Dirty Dancing, this film, and I think maybe Roadhouse. He was like the sexiest man that God ever put in the universe. Man.
He actually made me do the dancing routine, the Dirty Dancing.
Wow.
Growing up.
Wow.
Everybody had to learn to do that for their wedding or some kind of school function, learn to do the dirty dance.
Wow. And that's why I spend so much time on these films, man. These films have an extraordinary impact on, the way we behave, the way we talk. Like, it'll be little stupid things in films, and then everybody is saying it. Like, man, white supremacists do big-time work when they turn that television on.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
But
I feel like I guess after you watch Ghost, I should tell you my little analytical take on it, because I walked away thinking about this film lately. It's funny that you did a show based on this film, because I was just thinking about how much racism is in this film. So I guess after you're done watching certain parts of it, I wanted to get put in my 2 cents on Whoopi Goldberg's character and how she feels about possession.
You should, share. I have almost an hour left in the film, so I don't know how much more big-time racism is. Is there a lot left? An hour to go in the film? Is there still a lot of?
Yeah, there's something that's kind of you're gonna find very, very interesting if you haven't seen it. So I don't want to ruin it.
Okay. Well.
Greetings, can I hear?
I'm sorry. I heard. I'm sorry. Did somebody say something?
May I be heard?
Yes.
Greetings, Gus. Mr. Negro.
Greetings, sir.
Greetings to all the callers. I have not seen Ghost in years, but I do remember Patrick Swayze getting that honorary Negro status back in the day. I seem to recall black females having a thing for, Patrick Swayze. And I do remember in that scene, Ghost, that, golly, it's amazing how when you were confused, all that stuff just goes right over the top.
Yeah.
But I seem to recall now that every time she would allow him to use her to talk, to speak on his behalf, it seemed like the encounter was sexual because afterwards they'd be worn out.
Yep, that's true. It was very orgasmic.
Yeah, I didn't want to ruin that because Gus hadn't gotten to the other part.
Mm-hmm. Well, he should not be enjoying that film anyway.
No.
I'm studying. I'm just studying.
It's very, very educational. Just to learn about one film. If you brought this film to a college campus and just gave a course, you would learn that would be a week's lecture easy.
Mm-hmm. Man, even the demons were black. In Ghost.
Exactly.
I forgot about that. Yes, that's right.
Demons.
Exactly.
They got demons. Am I not there yet? They got demons in
No.
Whoa, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
I know the angel. I remember that. That was a big thing when they were bringing the angel in. She was a phallic symbol and it was an angel on the top of it. But they made a big deal about bringing the angel in the house, the white angel. I thought that was really important.
Mm-hmm.
Significant.
Right. The whole idea of this black woman having to be the medium for this white man to come through, it just seems it's very Dr. Francis Cress Wilson-ish that this white man has to come through a black woman in order to get to this white woman.
Mm-hmm. It's like white genetic annihilation on a lot of levels. It's like the white man being castrated. He can't protect his woman from the crazy black male anymore. And his impotence, in his impotence, he is reduced to having to get a black female to do his protecting for him, which is I almost kind of see this happening for real. White people using non-white people in various ways to help them maintain their system.
Which is what's being done right now.
Because that's going to change.
It's going to change in the film?
You just keep watching.
Okay.
Wow. I'm going to have to go back and watch a lot of flicks from back in the day. Like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. All those old movies, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I would tell anybody, definitely watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Even when I was confused, I just looked at the title, and I said, oh, and this is from the ISIS papers. When those words pop up that don't mean anything, Michael Tessarian said that you should really look at those words. Wonka means conquer in Latin. And all you have, I mean, if you just add that word in, so now it's William the Conqueror. That is a real person, at least from what I've seen in the history books. That is a real person. And I just switched chocolate for fudge, meaning to lie. So, I mean, you could just look at that, William the Conqueror and the Deception Factory, and then go watch. And they remade it. They just made it again.
Yep, with Johnny Depp.
It's really amazing to me and rewarding, I suppose, for us, the way they love to document their, behaviors and their atrocities. And, of course, we understand in this broader societal level, if it's not written, it doesn't count. And it's certainly in the behavioral health field, the frantic control and assuring that everything that the consumers, the patients, and the vast majority of them are non-white, to make sure to document all of the symptoms of the behaviors and all of the stuff that we're testing on them, medication, everything. Documentation is, 80% of your time is focused on treating the paper to make sure everything is documented and legible. All of their atrocities is just like, make sure it's documented. And it's documented in every possible form that there is available. And just this fascination, the war, and then and then their fascination with documenting.
Well, their documentation is because they have plagiarized everyone else's work, and they have to make sure they go back and they recross the T's and dot the I's to make sure that they are recorded in history. Because if you were to go back and look at all of those artifacts from way back, they're grave robbers. Any way you look at it, all of these artifacts that they have in their museum, they've went and robbed people's grave and put the items on display. And all that they've been doing is going back through and taking these people out of history and inserting themselves into a history that they had no part of. That is to uphold their system of supremacy and their belief that they are the creator of everything.
And I'm referring to their atrocities, like, they documenting their lies, the fact that they lied, just looking at the Wonka and the chocolate factory, yes, admitting that this is what we did. That's sort of, it's something about it that's sort of perverse, very perverse in nature, the way they seem to enjoy, flaunting, documenting all of these atrocious acts and behaviors, these terrible events. And I like that you used that word earlier, Gus, because that, it is true. It is terrible, and it is important to remember and tell the truth about terrible events, as a prerequisite to restoring social order and healing individual victims when people have had to protect themselves from this madness and these mad behaviors, admitting their lies and deception, but in a very, kind of covert sort of fashion. It's very sick, very interestingly sick.
You have to be truthful in this situation here that we're under, because we have lived on a situation built on lies, a house of cards, and this system is scheduled to fall down at any given moment. So these people are building lies upon lies, and the only problem is that when you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. And these people are proving that with their lies, and their memory is so faulty, and you can go back into history and find all the holes of all of what they tried to put together, and they didn't have spell check or proofreading back then to make sure everything was going to line up. That's why they always have to come back with revision, like they do with the Bibles and everything else. Okay, this is a revision, and we have to change up a few things when errors pop up.
Speaking of the Bible, Gus, I wanted to know your email address because I wanted to send you this email I got, and it's called the Almighty Bible for Children, and it has a white Adam and Eve with two white angels in the background. I thought you might have found interesting. It's with a white child reading it.
Wow. As it should be. My email is untiljustice@gmail.com, just like it is, untiljustice@gmail.com. And thank you. I check it pretty regularly, so I'll get it. I'm just updating you all. I'm about a little over 40 minutes to go in the film, and they have her trying to get the funds straight at the bank. She's wearing like her pink outfit. She looks like a total clown, which is standard in her films. Like they just have her looking like a total moron. Like I would be offended. Like if I was a black person and I had even like half an understanding of racism, I would be offended to see this. Like when I spoke with Dr. Welsing, and she said she was going to come on the program to talk about Revenge of the Nerds. She asked, has anyone complained about this film? Have any black people? And I said, no, I've never heard anyone say anything about this film and racism. And she said, confusion, blah, blah, blah. And I was telling her that myself and some of the other callers, we had seen Revenge of the Nerds repeatedly. And, and I was asking her about that, and she said, why were you all watching this film 10, 20 times? Why were you watching it? And I said, victimization. And she said, well, you had to like something about the film to watch it that many times. What did you like about the film? And I stopped and I thought, and I was like, the reason I think I watched it so many times is because it was on. Like I was bored. I was maybe depressed because of racism, white supremacy, not doing anything constructive. Just aimless. Nope. I think Mr. Fuller said that in one of the sound clips I played yesterday. When he wasn't focused on racism, he was just doing stupid stuff. He was just aimless. And I was too. And part of that was watching television, aimless. Totally zombied out, like watching some of the most racist content ever and just zoned like, oh, this is great. They keep calling him nigger. That's great. Like, I love Pulp Fiction. I mean, it was really bad. Anyway, she looks like a clown. I just wanted to update where I am in the film.
Well, that's her get up. That's how she always acts, I guess, from being a comedian. She just feels she has to. Some of these people I know when they go back later on in years and they review their work, they're going to really say, I'm so ashamed of myself that I need a paycheck that badly.
Oh, that would be interesting. The other thing, it is a program, and this is another thing I thought about when you mentioned the green glasses, the contacts, was it? That she was, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, burglar, where she has the blue contact lenses, and that's yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
That's still there. What happened?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Referencing that, just looking at the programming that it does, because that film, you said it came out in the early 90s. It seems to me it was in the late 90s and throughout 2000 when I noticed in our communities, many of the women began to wear colored contact lenses. Even several of my family members did get their, green eyes and blue eyes, and that was sort of a trend and a fad in the early 2000s and throughout late 90s, early 2000s, and I recognize sort of the connections between those programs and that programming, and during that time period too, like you said, many of our young people are sort of just sitting in front of the TV and watch these, and then it's just how those subliminal messages work, that people begin to behave, based on what they see, and this is what is acceptable, and this is what will get you, if you will, money fortune and fame in some sort of way. But I just, recognize the connection, looking at the timing of, her movies and those type of things, and then how that sort of manifests itself in our community several years later.
But for someone, I used to wear contacts back in the 80s, and I remember when I would go to get my exam and to get finished for my lenses, they always had those sample lenses with the hazel eyes and the different colors, and they would give it to you as a sample. If you want to have these, you can have them to go ahead and wear out. And I used to always think it made me look funny. It reminded me of a snake, like snake eyes. And I was never interested in putting those things in my eyes, but to me, I saw it happening back in the 80s with the use of the colored lenses in a lot of black females as well as black males. And then the Asians, of course, they came in and they started wearing the greens and the blues.
I had to get this in. This is what I mean, like little things. I don't think I would have picked this up some years ago. Like I would have got, she looks like a clown. I would have got that. Like, the first couple weeks of Racism 101, I'd have got that. But I wouldn't have got, that is really powerful programming. The scene I just watched, they're in the bank, and Patrick Swayze's character is telling her what to say so that she can get this money out. That is extraordinary programming that black people, the only way they can function halfway like they got some sense in a bank, in a major financial transaction, is if they are a puppet for a white person. That is an extraordinary 5-minute clip that I would have totally whiffed on, like my first couple weeks, Racism 101. Like, I would not have caught that at all. But, I mean, it's a ventriloquist act, basically, where Whoopi Goldberg is the dummy.
Yep. Which is what has happened. That's why a lot of us are sitting behind bars in prison, because we allowed ourselves to be used as tools for white supremacists to do crimes. And most times they don't do the time. You end up doing the time, your time and their time, because their white skin and their good lawyers get them off and say, okay, well, this black person influenced them or was the ringleader and got this nice white person involved in this crime, especially if it's a white female.
Oh, my God, that is terrible. That is terrible. That is terrible. That is terrible. She gets $4 million, and she's talking about what she's going to get. I want to rewind. I'm going to turn the volume up. Did y'all hear that?
What was she saying?
She said she just got $4 million. She said, I'm going to buy the building. No, I'm going to buy the block. No, I'm going to make my sister go to a fat farm because she's way too fat.
Black women and their weight.
Give a black person $4 million, and that's their top 3 things that they're going to do. Buy their building, their block, and send their relatives to fat farms. Like, man.
Surprised they didn't have her buying a Cadillac.
Double whammy.
Or blue eyes.
Yep.
Are you serious? I could vomit. I could vomit. I could vomit. I had muted my line so you all could, talk, but nobody said. He refuses to give this $4 million to her. She was under the false illusion that the white man was going to give her the money. He's not going to do that. He's going to give this money to the nuns. So they're getting the total play on Sister Act. And the whole comedy of that was that Whoopi Goldberg, the black person, obviously does not belong here. It's the contrast of this buffoon with these righteous, holy white women. And you're getting the exact same thing here. Give $4 million to you? Are you serious? No, I'm going to help these white people.
Oh, my God. Never caught that.
Yeah, that was pretty sad and pitiful to watch that scene and the whole body language when she had to give the money away.
To be expected, you know.
I don't know how much I was up on racist code during that period when I did see that film, and I watched Ghost a couple of times back in the day. Yet, certainly. It's a lot of it is so blatant and blatantly obvious. The parallels to the story that they carry about us, about non-white people. How it's actively portrayed and acted out in many of those, in all of their stuff, whatever they produce. The dynamic and the theme is always there. In terms of the story they hold about us, how they present it to us, and how they use it to program us into actually being, behaving, becoming just like what they suggest we are.
Hey, Gus, I know you're watching the movie, but have you been keeping up with the beef between Jalen Rose and what's his name?
I got that on my screen right now. I had the video and the article.
That is pitiful. That's a shame. These two black males, they're putting them against each other.
I will play it for listeners so y'all will have context if you missed it. It's man, oh man, white people suck. Jalen Rose, basketball player, black male. Gramt Hill, basketball player, black male. They had a big to-do. I can focus on it once this is done because I have this. Like I have the article and I have the video, so I can play it for everybody. Yeah, once this is done, we'll have time left in the program. Just bring that back up because I do want to talk about that.
I think he muted himself again.
Yeah, so I guess he wouldn't get distracted watching the movie.
Yeah, I saw Ghost a lot of times. I mean, I know the lines pretty much. I mean, it's just a movie that is like, I mean, now that I think about it, for like a good, thorough, step-by-step, like in the context of white supremacy, it's like it has a lot of messages in there about, what white people actually think what will happen to them when they die.
Yep. They have this great life. What you said you
That was an interesting connection for me with the series The Ghost Whisperer, which again I believe came out after Ghost, and I think Ghost was probably provided the impetus or something for that series. And it's like with The Ghost Whisperer, which stars again a white woman who white family and has this special unique gift to see and talk to ghosts and help them resolve issues on this side with family members, reveal truth about things that happen, go through the process that's required to heal from, sort of terrible events, and then allow them to go off into the light. Once the resolution happens, and at the end she always cries.
White people saving the day. This white female.
And then this was sort of became the transition from Ghost Whisperer in terms of, I guess, to resolve the conflict in their mind of where they're going to go when they die and how it's going to be. This white light you're going to see and feel very good and go into.
The show Medium? is the same thing.
That's what I was going to say.
Medium.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
That's all she does. Mm-hmm.
That's all she does. Just talk to dead white people and help them resolve their issues. And it's like, first of all, I mean, it's weird because it seems like white people are obsessed with the dead. I mean, it's just like they live for only the dead.
You know, I'm sorry. I just wanted to get this in since you all did touch on that, the afterlife connection. I'm about a little less than 30 minutes left to go in the movie. This film, what white people think about the afterlife, this is probably the best illustration for me. Oh, there's Arsenio Hall. What in the world? This film is probably the best illustration for what is going on. They got these fat black women watching. Man, what is going on? So this is probably the best illustration. That is significant, right? You just got a room full of fat black females with no husband watching Arsenio Hall eating. Y'all think that's significant? Don't y'all think that's significant? And everybody's got. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this film, to me, is a phenomenal illustration of Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.'s concept that religion, racism, white supremacy is a religion, and it is the strongest religion on the planet, because the thing that is clearest for me, even when white people are dead and gone, they still will be practicing racism. And that's something I definitely would not have said Racism Week 101, first week of Racism 101, I wouldn't have said that. But that's what I see more than anything. Like that scene where Patrick Swayze is telling Whoopi Goldberg's character to give the money. Like, you have a white man yelling at a black, like, he's yelling at her, give her the money, give her the, that would not be, or at least I would be looking at that kind of like, whoa, this is, I don't know if I did this too much. The context of the film is funny. I'm laughing at a white man yelling at a black female, and that's our everyday life, white people yelling at us. I mean, to me, that's what I see more than anything. White people's concept of the afterlife still involves white supremacy more than anything. I'm still going to be able to boss these non-white people around and keep these black people under my foot, call them a bitch, do whatever I want to these non-white people. Dead, alive, spirit world, that's what I get from this more than anything, and especially since Whoopi Goldberg got an Academy Award for this role.
Yep.
Well said.
It's pitiful because you see it all along the way how they conduct themselves for funerals. They make sure that they want to be kept in white cemeteries. They don't want to be mixed with blacks. So they practice racism from birth all the way through their death. And as you said, they're going to carry it on into the afterlife and do the same thing. They feel they'll be able to mistreat non-whites in the afterlife.
Well, you know, God is white, and as long as God is white,
yep, God is
how
Jesus.
The rest of that goes in the opening of Goodbye, Uncle Tom, from the lines from Harriet Beecher Stowe. God is white, and as long as God is white, something about how they'll rule or whatever.
Well, every group have to paint their God to look like them. So white people paint God to look like them. The Chinese got theirs. The Indians have theirs. Blacks are the only ones who go along with the white people's version of God. But every other ethnic group have their representation to look like them.
We know the white man God rules. They think in this planet God rules also.
Well, it's more than God that's white. The problem is that heaven's white, angels are white, and God's white, and everything about being good is associated with white. That's the problem. That's the major problem.
It's the purity factor. That's why they have women get to be married wearing white. Both times I got married, I never wore white. I said I was not wearing white. I wore pink, and I wore cream when I got married. I said, oh, no.
Can I ask a question, Sister?
We got 90 seconds in the program. I just wanted to get in really quick. If you're listening and you want to call, listen, anything, you should call right now, 347-215-6071, and press 1 if you want to talk. I just wanted to get that in. You should call right now. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, go by the name of Jadnis? To the sister caller who was on?
Oh, I did not hear you. You broke up.
Jadnis? Is this Jadnis? You go by the name of Jadnis?
No.
No? Okay. Sound like a sister. Sound like a sister I know who name was Jadnis. Out of Atlanta now.
Oh, no, she's not. That's someone I'm familiar with.
They just killed the black male. Man, and the black, I don't know, the black demons or some black figures came and took him. Well, they didn't do that to Patrick Swayze when he died.
Right. And that black thing, they have that in the Ghost Whisperers. I forget they call it the Darkies, and then they have the Shinies. She had a son, and her son was gifted as well, and he was able to see the shadows. That's what it's called, the shadows and the shinies. And that darkness that came and took him away, that would be the shadows.
So that means he's probably heading straight to hell if the demons came and snatched him up.
Because the shadow energy, of course, is the black energy, and it's bad. And what it does, even in the Ghost Whisperer, how it controls and manipulates and works a person's mind and forces them to sort of think about all things that are terrible, awful, how they failed, and how it's all about the person and how ungood they are, if you will. All of their failures and all of their mistakes and mishaps, and when this energy, the shadows, sort of can take over and possess you. I liken it, and I think about, from a behavioral health perspective, depression, and what happens when people are depressed or overly anxious and stressed, and how you begin to think about the things that you're doing wrong, how can you do it right, and just running with so much on your mind, and that would sort of be indicative of how the shadow energy works on people and forces them to do things that also are criminal or unjust acts.
And see, this is crazy because I get tired of people hating this because they said, okay, you're in a black mood. That means if you're in a bad mood, depression is supposed to put you into blackness.
Black hole.
Yeah, it's just terrible that everything black, it seems to be it's a negative, except when it comes to your finances. You stuff have to be in the black in order for it to be doing great. That's the only time they need that, is your finances to be in the black.
Right. Yeah, and this is certainly consistent with what the sort of system of white supremacy, racism, white supremacy is, when we recognize that it is a system that is designed to cause harm, to capitalize off of, cause harm by capitalizing off of the resources of black people. It's fit. It's sort of like a logical fit that would be the case, that when you're making money off of black people, then of course it's good, and anything else about them is no good, because the only thing that is good, that you're good for, is for my personal gain and benefit, and to be work for me, pimping people. You work for me for my personal gain and my personal benefit, and that is all you are sort of worth. Because, of course, aside from that, as slaves, when you're no longer able to work or bring in benefit, master, then they, of course, throw you out. You're no longer.
But if you look at everything else, as far as finances are concerned, all of their monetary notes, it's not in white. It all has color in it. All of the minerals that are worth something of value, black gold, oil, it's black. You look at the most valuable diamonds that they have around, it's the blue diamond. So it's nothing white really is considered to be valuable. Except people, they want to say themselves they're supposed to be valuable because they're so-called white, but I haven't seen a white person. They're pink, peach, whatever colors you might want, red, but they most certainly are not white.
Oh, wow. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. He's just entered Whoopi Goldberg's body. Wow. I've seen that. I don't even know how many times I've seen that this week where white people or black people in the films. That's The Jerk and Revenge of the Nerds. I don't know how many times I've seen this now. White people in blackface in one form or another in films. Like, this is over and over and over. Oh, and it's sexual too. Wow, that's really bonkers. Wow. And you got the wow, they are clowning hard. Wow. Wow. And she got an Academy Award for this. That is crazy. It's like she's having sex with a white woman on camera. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. She gets rewarded for bad behavior.
That's pitiful. I don't even know. It's almost like, is this supposed to be your fantasy? Like, this is the best you can hope for as a black female, is that maybe you get to be a white man? Like, I mean, what in the world? Like, that is crazy. That is crazy. What in the world? What in the world? What in the world? There's nothing appealing about this role at all. Like, I would look at somebody like they were crazy if they came to me with a role like this.
It's all about the Benjamin.
Man, that price tag is going to be astronomical. Like, it would cost almost the end of white supremacy for, to do. I mean, this is crazy.
Did the white guy in this movie, the little crooked white guy?
I'm sorry?
Did he get killed also? Another white guy that is kind of a shady character?
The one that's a racialized term, right? That's shady. You mean the guy that kind of that was the mastermind behind this, the one that he worked with that was trying to take? I don't remember him getting killed. Did I miss that? Did he get killed? Anyone?
It's been a while since I watched that movie, so.
I don't remember. Well, I didn't see that. I saw the black guy.
Caller from Texas here. Did he eventually get killed in this movie? Because I thought he got.
Well, you're still watching the movie, right?
Oh yeah, it's not done. We got about.
Yeah, you still got a ways to go.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes left. He's still alive, so he hasn't been killed yet.
Oh, because I thought he got yanked out. Okay,
maybe
shut up.
Maybe he does. Let's see. You'll catch a lot of more things, I think, with Dr. Welsing's work. Like, the more familiar you are with symbols and what she talks about in her book and white genetic annihilation, you'll catch a lot more of the racism. Like, I think it'll jump out quicker. I think.
Yeah. The reason why they wanted to sideline her and put her out of commission, because if she was given a national platform to put this stuff out there, I think we would have went a long way towards dismantling white supremacy.
I don't think they're going to do that. Which, I mean, you know, I think a lot of us have to be active. You know, if we think it's important that a lot of people hear her work, that a lot of us should be active in thinking of different ways of getting, you know, her material out to black people. You know, she's done a ton of programs, radio programs, lectures. You know, I mean, just thinking of different ways to get that material out to black people and non-white people, because I think the more people that hear it, I think it would definitely benefit the non-white side of the chessboard.
I've been trying to do my part to make sure I put her stuff out here, as well as the program. I've been advertising it on Facebook.
I think the best way is to implement it through school, through community colleges and like colleges as courses in ethnic behavior or racial studies.
I think you would have to do it privately. You would have to get to going to the Boys and Girls Club in the inner city and run a class, which is what I'm planning on doing anyway. Just go to the local Boys and Girls Club and do it there. Because if you go into major school system and you start talking this stuff, and they're going to shut you down. They're going to tell you disinvite you. Especially what's going on in this country with budget cuts, and they're trying to go back into segregation. Which is what it's really boiling down to, with all of these massive layoffs of teachers and school districts losing funding. That's exactly what they're going to do. So they would not want you coming up there disrupting their program, so you have to get them at a Boys and Girls Club.
I just want to make sure I get this in. This was really anomalous. There's a chase scene towards the end of the film, and the villain, the white man with the gun, who is responsible for all of the bad things that have happened in this film, he catches Whoopi Goldberg, and the white woman turns around to save her. And I was like, whoa, this doesn't happen in white people's movies. I mean, I see white people they get it all the time, and white people do not intervene. In fact, I think the only other film that comes to mind that I can think of off top where a white person intervenes to save a black person from dying is Shadow Boxer. And I mean, I won't even go there. But, at any rate, he saves her. I mean, Demi Moore steps in to save Whoopi Goldberg, which is, I mean, I don't think that happens if she is not, the sexual liaison for Patrick Swayze. If that connection wasn't there, if she basically had just turned into a white person, I think if that doesn't happen, Whoopi Goldberg bites the dust. She's not going to get out of this one. That scene is real important for understanding why Whoopi Goldberg lives in this film.
Yeah, because her husband was using her as a medium.
I mean, she literally gets identified as a white person in this film. Like she turns into a white person for a few minutes. Like that saves her life in this film. The guy does die.
I have to say, speaking of shadow boxing, I heard you mention that when you talked about it a couple months back. I watched it. I was sick for a couple of days, 3 days.
Watch it again.
Very depressed. Very depressed.
Yeah,
very ill and physically sick too after watching that for a couple of days. That shadow boxing. That was like, I'm not sure. I'm a little more cautious when I go to watch films that you have recommended, especially ones that I haven't heard about and hadn't.
I never heard. I had it saved up in my queue with my Netflix queue to watch, and it's been sitting out in there for over a year until Gus said he was doing a movie review, and then I pulled it out and I went and I watched it. And I was sick. I had to watch it again to pick up on some more clues. I said, it makes you feel real dirty after you watch that movie. especially if you have children, male children.
Yeah, I could see how that would be.
Lately I've noticed a lot of movies like that have black male characters seem to be dying in them, such as Training Day, Brooklyn's Finest, Wesley Snipes, and Ray Tango, his character, I forget his name, Don Cheadle, his character, they both get shot and killed by white people. Well,
I haven't seen that. That's another one I have in my queue to watch.
Yeah, but there's a lot of movies. I just went to go see Unknown with Liam Neeson in it, and there was a black male character, and he died. So there's a lot of black male characters who just get killed in these movies just as the only black male character. They just die.
It's typical. We're supposed to expect it in all movies that the blacks always get killed first.
And in a symbolic way. I was just going to say, in a symbolic way, frequently. I know in Brooklyn's Finest, the caller 720, he pointed out you basically have a lynching at the end of Brooklyn's Finest where they put the black twist tie around the black male's neck. And it's not a rope, but I mean, it's a lynching. I mean, that's what it is. That's also in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, where the black male goes up in the chains. It's a lynching on the screen. There's in one of the latest Friday the 13th films, Jason throws an axe and he kills the black person and it hits him in the back and he dies on a wood pile. And I said, oh, white people. I mean, when I see stuff like that now, it's like white people are so sophisticated. They can do stuff like that. I don't need to call you a nigger. I can just arrange things in the film so that white people who see this black male die on a wood pile, they'll know, oh, nigger in the wood pile. And black people will totally miss that because we don't know the phrase. We don't know what it means. You do not understand racism, white supremacy. You will be looking at blatantly racist, I mean, as bad as, Birth of a Nation. You'll be looking at the 21st century version of it and will totally miss it.
And yeah, I think some of the reasons for the missing it also, it's like a psychic reminder and trigger and works to keep us psychologically numb to the terrible events, the atrocities that took place. So it's like it provides a trigger. You see a black man laying on this wood pile. You have maybe a moment flash of scenes when that really happened, especially if you grew up in the era that I did, where we saw those images in movies and in real life too. But it's like you see this terrible event, and your mind is going to automatically work to shut down and numb out, such that you move right into denial. But it's just too overwhelming to our psyche to see these things again intense. Either you're going to shut down, or another way it gets expressed is through this explosion of feeling, of anger, of fear for something. And of course, if you express it, if you externalize it in that way, then you are penalized and labeled as being angry. And you're too emotional and all of those things. So the other alternative is to just, shut it down. And it's like, I see it, but I don't. I see it and I don't. I wonder how much of that is also going on, and because we don't share our stories. They stop telling the stories of what happened, because of course we're all now integrated and we're free and we have our civil rights, and so all that stuff we no longer need to teach our children that this is what this stuff was and what it means and what little they get from the history books, and also all of the images that are always there and have always really been there flashing in our minds through the TV screen, and really unbeknownst, because nobody was really talking about what you were saying.
People always use that term, freedom, or that you are so free. Free it's a relative term, because I don't really think of myself or the non-white black community as being free. I think we are more in a tragic state than we were before integration, because all we have really gained really with this so-called integration is to be able to go into white folks' restaurants and sit next to them and eat their food, and to be and not to be insulted and to use their dirty toilets. That's really what we have gotten, because we've lost everything in the process. We have given up everything that we've had in order to gain this so-called freedom, like Dr. Claude Anderson always said. He said, think about your situation as going to the airport. When you go to the airport to fly, he said one of the first things that they tell you to do is to make you strip down everything before you go through the scanner. You have to take everything off, leave it there, including your wallet, to be scanned through. And then when you get on the other side, then they're going to say, okay, by the way, you can't come back through. You can't get it. So now you were stuck on the other side, and you have left everything, your wallet, your clothes, everything is left at the security gate, and you cannot go back to get it. He said that's what we have gained with this so-called integration, because we lost our businesses, our community, our family. Everything has been lost, even our sense of morality. And I quite agree with him.
I think we gave up a lot for a little bit.
Yeah, we gave up everything in order to get absolutely nothing. Because all of our money, our businesses, some people right now, they don't know how to plant greens in their yard. Then you look at people, most people have these big lawns in their front and backyard, and it has absolutely nothing but perennials plants out there. It looks like an English garden, and they're not growing food on it. So we're living like wealthy white people, and they don't know how to garden for themselves. And now with everything that's going on, with the price of utilities going up, you're going to have to start planting a garden, which is what I'm doing. I'm saving my seeds and stuff like that. I'm planting a garden. I'm not wasting time putting in no flower beds and all that foolishness.
Did the movie finish? Because I just wanted to touch on it.
Oh, the movie has concluded.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just thought that I just found it very interesting that how when white people have made this film, they actually believe that a white ghost, a white man as a ghost, can come back, kill two people, and still waltz right into a white heaven.
No, that's their version of heaven, and hell doesn't exist in their world except for black people or non-white.
I'm sorry, what was the last piece you said, that they can do that and then not what?
And then waltz into heaven. They can kill two people and waltz into heaven.
Right.
Yep.
And not be a so-called Christian either.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of a message that's in there with that film.
Yep. All they're saying is that heaven is reserved for white people only. All of you others, don't even think about it because you're not getting there.
My big thing is murder. How it, since he was gunned down, since he's a victim of murder, it means you go to heaven or something like that. But yet when he murdered Willie, like there was no forgiveness. Like he just went straight to hell. And so did the other white person who got murdered by Sam, the same ghost. He went straight to hell. But Sam, the murderer, went to heaven.
Mm-hmm. You see, that's their justification for killing people. He is saying that certain white people, they have been given this authority that they can kill at will, and God is going to, because God granted them this certain dispensation that they can do these things on his behalf, and they would suffer no repercussions. That's what they're telling you, that white people can kill. White people are God on earth, and they can kill, and they're guaranteed to get their spot.
Yeah. Also, Whoopi Goldberg's character and how I perceive her perception of who she allowed into her body to communicate to their loved ones. When the black man chose to enter her body, she was fully concentrated and he was able to speak for a little bit, but he she did not like him in her, so she rejected him. And with the white man, she like let him in, and for all this, you know, emotional thing. So I found that kind of interesting too.
Man, you're right. I forgot about that scene.
Yes.
I gotta go watch.
Right. White identification. Which is her character.
Like white man rejection of your black self.
Reject the black man and
reject
the white man.
I think Ghost qualifies for white glorification.
Yeah.
When you said that someone possessing you was like an orgasmic thing, I kind of felt that was like a sexual thing. Like she rejected the black man but accepted the white man to be a white woman.
Yep, so this black man was not sexually, he was going to do anything for her sexually. Because, like you said, all of her partners that she partnered with have all been white men. So this is totally in character for Whoopi Goldberg. She has never partnered with a black male.
That's true. Sam Elliott in Fatal Beauty.
In real life, it's the same way, too. She has always been associated with white males.
Ted Danson in Made in America.
And I want to say, in terms of the men and the trend also that I see with the men of African descent in movies, I've noticed this trend, it seems to me, there was the period in the 80s, if you will, where it was the non-white women who were, very much victimized in these roles and so forth. The men, I've noticed, Samuel L. Jackson, Will Smith, Denzel Washington, all playing roles where they, in the end, are rescuing the white folks, white women and children are usually left standing, where the black man is in the role of the protector, the defender, that put his life on the line to save them. Even looking at Will Smith, I think even within the Book of Eli, there was another one that was similar where he had the dog and it was the whole virus or whatever. He was the last man there. But he came across and then protected and got to safety a white woman and a white child. But I noticed a trend of movies, where first it was the women and then they used the black man. So either the black man is dying in the film or he is in the role of protector, of white people, and on a very
sacrifice
save the world. It's like it would be the end of the world, and then at the end of the world, he does save this, this white pair, the white woman and the white child, to go on to continue, if you will, humanity.
That's I Am Legend.
Black men have been used. There's a lot of them. And I don't know if at some point I'll get a chance to actually put it together. But it seems to be very much a trend and a pattern. Even looking at Morgan Freeman as the.
I was about to say him too. Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson.
Will Smith, Denzel Washington. In the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, I Am Legend was that Will Smith movie you were talking about, how he sacrificed himself for the white woman and child, and how they live on, and how how Will Smith is a black man who he's like fit, he's in shape, he's been surviving these things, the post-apocalyptic world for years on his own with his dog, and he was suicidal. And then a white woman and child rescue Will Smith, and all of a sudden he has this culture shock because he sees two people that are alive, and then and then all of a sudden the creatures start taking the compound, and he protects the woman and child, but he sacrifices himself. But these things are coming all over the place. I don't know how exactly they survived it anyway. But, they just have a happy ending like that.
Of course.
So, it's a Walt Disney ending, such as Training Day, where the black man dies and the white people go home or they live, even in post-apocalyptic situations, such as 2012 as well. 2012
right.
Thing.
You're right. That sounds like Daryl Bain, Melanin Apocalypse. Gus is going to be in his next book. He's going to be the first one to die in the scene.
Yeah, and all these movies about the end of the world, such as Armageddon and Deep Impact and things like that, all of it is about white people. All of it is about white people knowing what to do and having some kind of game plan and this and that and the other. It's just incredible how superior they believe their society is going to be. Because you see all these films and there's nothing about non-white people making any plans for the end of the world. There's nothing about everyone's behind the 8 ball but white people or something. Like, we all would miss the email or something. They just really think that they're up on some other level that everyone else is lagging on. Like, we all don't live on the same freaking planet. So it's just kind of amazing movies,
They're telling the truth about that because white people are very, very prepared. If you see all of these preparedness rituals that they go through out in the desert with their bomb shelters and their food and their pills, like they're saying right now, that potassium iodide pills, they are sold out. It's over a month's backlog in order to get those pills in order to block your system from any radiation poisoning from the fallout of this nuclear disaster in Japan. These people are well prepared ahead of us. They go through these drills with their children. So, yes, they are ahead of the game. They have their guns, their bullets, everything is loaded up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd say they're ready to die. I wouldn't say they're ready to live. Being a society that is built of fear, lies, and deception is not a lifestyle that is healthy, holistic, spiritual. There's no longevity in that. There's only a short-lived gain. There's only a criminal that's on the run trying to get away with the crime. Like, white people are only getting away with the crime for so long as there is no justice out to pursue them and to bring them to justice. All non-white people have to come together and decide how we're going to deal with this worldwide problem. And then the criminal will have to decide what to do with these criminals and how we treat these criminals. And that's when their behavior will have to change because of our mandate.
That might be so, but as long as they can buy allies for themselves, which is what they have been doing all along, we have non-white sympathizing with the white agenda, we're going to forever be at a disadvantage in this warfare with them. Because even with the disaster that's going on in Japan, and we know it was created by white people, because I have no doubt that they were down there testing their weapons in the Indian Ocean and blowing up things and cause the earth crust to shift below the surface and to create a tsunami, because they always go and they test their nuclear weapons out in the Indian Ocean. And I would not be surprised at all if that is what caused it. So,
well, it was unpreparedness. It was, as far as Japan is, with the reactors not cooling and no water being able to be pumped to the nuclear rods, all of that becomes actually nuclear waste, which is unusable and radioactive material that's not contained. So it actually kills all life forms within its immediate area, making it a non-inhabitable place for any life forms to develop, and will probably most likely mutate any life form that can actually survive the radiation levels that are around there. Now, how far the infection goes, nobody really knows, because it actually gets into the weathering system. Once it gets into the weathering system, since Japan is on the edge of the ocean, that could mean acid rain. We can also expect like maybe some vegetation actually being affected by it. So we're talking about things that glow or things that burn. It's just heat transfer from one part of the ocean to, actual land. So we have yet to see the real fallout of what's actually going to go on. This is just the beginning. So, they don't know what they're doing.
So it has to go into the water system because I'm sure that stuff is going to run off into the ocean. It's going to poison the seafood, and we still have the disaster from the Gulf that has not even cleared up yet from that BP oil spill. So altogether, they have poisoned completely the air, the land, the ocean. They've just poisoned the whole doggone atmosphere. It's all white people's fault. They've done it. This planet, all you have to do is strike a match, and this planet is ready to go up in flames.
Yeah, but I think that implies our responsibility to stop that from happening. I feel like the only question I wake up asking myself is, number one, how can you allow this to go on for so long? Number two, and what are you doing to stop it? So it's kind of, if everyone was on, I just wish more people were on the same page so that we would all know what we want. We know what we don't want, but we haven't expressed ourselves clearly in a clear message to where, everybody's on the same page, and I think we need to do that.
I have a sense and a hunch that we are doing that very thing, yet we are doing it on a very spiritual level of lived experience, in that our energies, our spiritual energies, are coming together in that fashion, yet that's something that you cannot really measure and touch. It's something certainly that they have no capacity for, because they truly are despiritualized people, and it's why they have the religion and all of the energy that they have around dying and where they're going to go. Yet spiritually, because I hear so many of us, as I hear us, as I continue to listen and hear us wherever we are, I hear the same thing. We use different words to describe it. We use different frameworks, if you will, and within different contexts. Yet the upshot of it is to me, I keep hearing the same thing, the same theme, and the same message, and it's becoming, as I'm experiencing it and witnessing it, it's becoming clearer and louder. Yet again, because it's taking place on the spiritual level, it may appear that it appears that it's not happening because of what we see sort of on this level, societal, within our communities, families, and our own individual lives. The spirit is something that you can never see and touch, measure in that sort of way, yet it is manifest in some behaviors, but in the behaviors I'm seeing it manifest in is behaviors like Gus having a broadcast and doing what he does, Mr. Hero doing what he does, Edward Williams, as wealthy, based on the information that is coming out of, if you will, our minds and our hearts, our energy, people who participate in broadcasts like this and other similar things. That is where I see the energy and the spirit on the spirit level where this stuff is happening and is taking place. And that is sort of like also in the end the kicker, because while they may be preparing for the destruction that they have planned and they have set up and put in place, it's like, yes, in many ways, if there's no true living or life, then you're sort of having to look over your shoulder because of the atrocities and the crimes you know you've done. But even though you think that you're going to be safe, they think that they're going to be safe with all of the things that they have built for themselves to be prepared. The last laugh is sort of really going to be on them, because they still have this legacy and this that they carry and that they carry around with them. And that energy, that spiritual energy, will come back on them. I just, have to. I just see that and sense that, and kind of that helps me make some sort of sense out of knowing why I do what I do and why it's important for me to continue to do what I do despite the amount of harm, if you will, that I incur being of African descent on the planet at this particular time, if you will. Because I'm going to get harm, and yet it is important to continue to plug on and stay on top of their game, like Gus was saying, 24/7 and or as much as I can, because that is where the energy and the spirit is moving, guiding, supporting, assisting in doing. Because without that, I can't say. I'm not sure what life would look like given the pure, sickness, if you will. Like you said, they have destroyed the whole planet, the air, the water. You light a match, it will explode. And I believe that explosion, if you will, is the fire energy that we bring that will heal, provide a cleansing fire. They said in their story, right, it'll be fire next time that's going to destroy and restart the earth, and if you will. And I believe that fire is the passion and energy that each and every one of us carries toward the purpose and the outcome of justice, of ma'at, society. And that's the way to live and to be in the world, as opposed to this warring energy mentality, thinking and behaving.
Gus, what did you think of the movie? I wanted to get your take on it.
Ghost, you mean?
Yes.
Like I said, I mean, I think the big point for me, the system of white supremacy is the strongest religion in the known universe, and even if I should happen to die, I plan on practicing white supremacy forever, even if that means in the hereafter. And I mean, everything else from there is just, I mean, as long as you get that, like, that's the important thing, white supremacy forever. I mean, everything from that is just like, oh yeah, the sexual stuff is really interesting. Her looking like a clown, very interesting. The hair, the fat black females with no partner, no male partner, very interesting. The ventriloquist scene in the bank, very interesting. But I mean, just I would want to make sure everybody got that. Like, even after death, white people are supposed to be able to practice racism, white supremacy, and enjoy doing so. Make sure we all got that. What did you think about the film?
Oh yeah. I thought it. I mean, seeing it many times, but never really thinking about it. I mean, I always thought, okay, well, maybe it's just a little fun, fantastic movie about, ghosts who can maybe move around things. Maybe, it's supposed to make you ask the question, is your loved one out there, moving things around, or, is there a black woman in your neighborhood who can talk to your ghost or something? I mean, it puts out a lot of mixed messages about your lost loved ones, and it makes someone who's vulnerable watching this movie kind of feel emotional about it. So I hear a lot of women talk about ghosts, how they love to watch the movie because, they're emotionally attached to it, even though they very well know none of that is real. But yet, in this fantastic scenario, you have a lot of racism in this movie. So there's really a lot of messages behind it that a lot of these women don't know. But it was intended by the director and the screenwriter of what to put out there and what to show people.
We have like 15 minutes left in the program. I wanted to make sure we did have time for the, I don't even know what the tragedy with Jalen Rose and Grant Hill. And this all could have been avoided if black people just said we're going to codify and we're not going to name call. This whole episode vanishes. Caller in Atlanta, did you want to share your thoughts on this? I guess if you could tell the reader, I have the article I could read, or you can tell them. It's up to you.
Well, I'll let you play the clip because I was just watching it online. But Gramt Hill, he came back in a very dignified manner, and he answered in his letter that he wrote about being referred to as Uncle Tom and the elitism that was ascribed to him. But as he said, it was white people that put these two black males against each other to be fighting over nonsense about the schools, and they were both white institutions.
I know you're not saying Jalen Rose called Gramt Hill and Uncle Tom.
When he was 17. Jalen Rose, for people who don't know, I think Jalen Rose is about 40 now, and apparently they did a documentary film at some point of the Fab Five, and this was black males at the University of Michigan during the early 1990s. They were all freshmen, Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard. There were two others, obviously, but they were all freshmen, very good team. I think at least 3 of them went to the NBA, maybe 4, and had, long career. Juwan Howard is still playing. He's with the Miami Heat right now. But at any rate, they were at Michigan, Grant Hill, Christian Laettner. They were at Duke, and they met. They played in the NCAA championship game in '92. Duke won. It was I remember a lot of race talk because Duke, they have a lot more white players on their team. Michigan, these are all 5 black males, so it was a lot of racial dialogue. At any rate, when he was 17, Jalen Rose, I guess, was recorded referencing Duke basketball players, black male basketball players at Duke, which is in North Carolina, as Uncle Toms. And Grant Hill wrote a letter to respond. They had a big to-do about it. It was on ESPN. I can play the video for you all. I was snickering because this is the same cast of characters we have heard before, which is like code to me. When the ESPN, when they had the discussion about LeBron James and the white people hating on him and was race involved, it was the same white woman and the same white man who were commenting. When Michael Vick, the MVP discussion, and was race a factor, they had the same white woman and the same white man. Skip Bayless is the white man's name, and I recognized them immediately that they have them in this clip on Grant Hill and Jalen Rose. I'll play the sound clip now. It's about 7 minutes, so we still should have about 7 minutes remaining to discuss. So I'll play it right now. Context of White Supremacy.
They didn't recruit black players, only those, I should say, that you considered Uncle Tom. Since then, Twitter, everywhere, there's been a lot of talk about it. You've taken some heat. I'm going to give you the skip go, meaning go ahead, respond and say what you want to say about that.
As a 17-year-old recruit, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I was an inner-city kid from the public school league that was waking up, using kerosene heaters for heating the house, boiling water to wash up, sleeping with hoodies and scullies, that at that time I felt like I wasn't good enough for certain stages. That's just a fact. But also it was something I used as motivation. Now I understand what their program represents because I'm a mature adult. I know that it's a private school. I know that they do recruit players from well-to-do, affluent families. But also, I understand some of the reason why, so that they don't see some of their players selling goods for selling their rings, selling their goods for money. Also, they want to get kids that are going to represent the program the right way. I get all of that. But that's the minority. I was speaking for the majority, and that's exactly how I felt then. It wasn't an individual. It wasn't somebody that's 20 years later. But at the time as a recruit, that's 100%
so you
how I
don't
felt.
feel that way today nearly as strongly.
Well, the bottom line is this. They do recruit a certain type of player. They recruit a lot of players from private schools.
Would they recruit you now? I guess. Do you think they would, if a Jalen Rose...
I think they would recruit my kids. I don't think they would have recruited me.
You, if you were living in today's era.
Exactly. I mean, I've never seen Coach K in Detroit. I just haven't. But that's just me.
Okay. Did he recruit Chris Webber? That was the contender.
Chris Webber went to the exact same school as Shane Battier. That's two Michigan recruits.
Okay. It goes to the stigma that we're talking about, that they only go after affluent kids, or families.
Is it fair to use that? I know you're saying as a kid, that's what you viewed it. Is it fair to use that term Uncle Tom's, which is what I think some people found inappropriate or were sensitive to, I guess I should say.
But also the term Uncle Tom, really, if you look up the definition, in essence, it's a black person that's subservient to whites. Did you see what Dick Vitale said about us in the documentary? I like them. They got bald heads. I must wear a bald head. They got the ugly black socks. They don't represent the clean-cut, all-American guy. That's what he didn't like about us. That's the audience I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to the audience. They got the big TV on the floor. It doesn't work. But the little TV that's sitting on top of it, that's the one they're watching.
Okay, but you're still saying that black players who choose to go to Duke are Uncle Toms and they are subservient to whites because Duke is a white power school, elite school.
I don't want to generalize because I ain't going to say 100%. And my Twitter page was blowing up with people giving me an example. Just so you know, if you're sending me a list of 3 or 4 players, you're feeding my point over 35 years, by the way.
I agree with that. And then you look over the past 20 years, like I stated yesterday, you can only pick 3 or 4, maybe. And, you know, I think that's true. It holds true that Duke goes after a certain player. There's no cutting around it. It speaks for itself when you watch the team.
A private school that goes after private school kids. My mom didn't have $15,000 a year to send for me to go to high school. It just wasn't going to happen.
Look, I completely appreciate your resentment of Duke. I very much appreciate, and I told you yesterday on the air, that was a sensational documentary, and you should be applauded for the totality of it, the impact of it. I respect that you believe what you believe. But when you reach for Uncle Tom, you're reaching for a really strong, powerful word. And obviously, I can't feel what you feel. I'm obviously not black. But let me refer quickly to a column that was written in the Washington Post by Jason Reed, who is a black man, split his childhood between Brooklyn and South Central. So he came from somewhat your background. He was very critical of your premise of Uncle Tom. And Jason wrote in the column, Uncle and Tom are the worst 2 words one black man can direct at another black man. Would you agree with that?
At 17, I had no filter.
Okay, good.
You saw that bad teeth, bad skin guy. Okay, I had no filter.
Okay, then he also says that your Uncle Tom premise, misguided as it is, asserts that academic achievement, professional accomplishment, and affluence somehow reduces or eliminates a person's blackness, quote unquote. That's
so way off. That's way off
base, yeah.
We still went to Michigan, who was considered the Harvard of the West.
It was. I agree. I brought that up yesterday when we were discussing this.
In this country or world. So what we're saying is it's not about the academics. It's about basketball. It's not about what, you know, the kids, what they can do. It's about that program and the kids that they go after that fit their system. That, to us, is selling out if you go there where...
System and image, maybe?
The system and image is that you're going to go there, you know, as this type of player. You're going to be viewed as that. And like I said yesterday, I didn't grow up with anybody in my family, in their neighborhood, that even mentioned Duke. So that is my reality and how I view Duke.
You blame Duke for going after only
the best of the best,
elite. Well, not elite, but upstanding family, black families where you have a 2-parent household. It doesn't have to necessarily.
How about this though, Skip? How about this? If it was a Jalen Rose and a Jalen Rose type player right now, or someone that's comparable to him, but actually a less of a player, they still wouldn't recruit a Jalen Rose.
Because?
And I've had people say, criticize me, say, oh, maybe you couldn't make it academically. I was an honor roll high school.
I brought it up on the air yesterday. I don't know Chris, but the other four, you guys all have high IQs to me. You're all smart kids.
And it has nothing to do with being a racist. It's being somebody that's socially conscious, and you paying attention to what's happening around you. Certain schools recruit a certain kind of guy. You can name schools that you felt like go after the bad boys. You can name schools that go after just the great players that are All-Americans, regardless of where they're from. You can name the schools that go after the elite.
Okay.
When I was coming out of high school, you went to Notre Dame, you went to Indiana, you went to Duke. We would say you were on the A side. You went to play football at the U, went to UNLV, you went to Michigan, you were on the B side. That's just a fact in recruiting.
Okay.
Gotta leave it here.
Okay, just in the end, did Grant Hill and Elton Brand do a disservice to their black heritage by choosing to go to Duke?
Of course not.
Okay? That's what you suggest.
They were college kids. Of course they did. They're doing what they can to continue their family tradition and legacy, which I have, of course, no problem with.
One of the things that I'll say as we're leaving it is a lot of times, no matter what word is used, it's the perception and the way people are perceiving. It's not always put out in the same way somebody else takes it in. As somebody who watched, who went to Michigan, the honesty that you guys showed, I appreciate it, especially in hearing some of those letters.
And I got to take it a step further. To be honest, the players that we played against, to hear me say that right now, it's not a surprise. You know why? When we played against them on the court, we said that to them.
I understand. I appreciate that.
All right, guys,
At least you're open and honest.
And that honesty certainly has to be acknowledged.
Context of White Supremacy. There are 5 minutes left in the program, and I will mute my line. I did want to, I hope people caught they used the term fair twice in that segment. Dick Vitale, white man, he does color commentary for basketball games. He just like 2 weeks ago, he was talking about a black male who switched plantations, went to another team, and he said, I'm fed up with NBA basketball. They got the inmates running the asylum. Inmates. Skip Bayless, this white man, he was talking to Jalen Rose and Jimmy King. Actually, Jimmy King was also part of the Fab Five. He was the other black male who was speaking. He was on the same basketball team. He was speaking to them, and he said, you kids have a high IQ. He was talking to 40-year-old black males, 2 40-year-old black males, and he said, you kids, high IQ. I think, did I get everything? Jimmy King, I think that was everything I wanted to say. And yeah, the problem is white people. I'll end right there. Anything you all? Oh, and yeah, this whole situation would have been squashed if we were codified and didn't name call. This whole situation vanishes, and I'll end right there. It's despicable that white people would have a black person, period, have to come out and respond to something that they said 20 years ago when they were 17. White people suck. I'm done and muting my line.
You're right, because the way how they try to get him to commentate on what another black person said, as you said, it's all codification. It's totally ridiculous. And the same thing with Adrian Peterson. He's complaining too about the slave plantation, the football player. So this must be the week for black athletes to be on the chopping block, so to speak.
Yeah, I can't believe that black people, black men especially, always have to explain themselves. And it seems like white people's favorite words is I understand and I respect, I understand, I respect. They sound like robots. There's nothing, everything they say is so scripted. You can tell that they're not listening and that they don't actually get it. And, I don't understand, but, and it's just they ramble on and they miss the point and they're in this denial. Like, really? Racism? Really? Tell us more about this racism. I never heard of this thing before. Like it's new or something. And it's like, wait a minute, really? I have to explain racism to you, to white people?
Yep. It's creating conflict. That's all they want us to do, to create conflict between these two black males.
It was interesting to me to hear that, if you will, the white man admonishing a black man for using the term Uncle Tom. How could you call him that? So they're going to protect this other black man from another black man using this language. That was Joe. Yeah, Gus summarized it pretty well for me. At the end of the day, white people suck and they're very sick.
I just think the sooner that, we all get together and form our own laws and our own system of justice and implement that as soon as possible, then we would teach white people how to behave as civilized human beings, except for, instead of the